Hello and welcome back to my channel. So I am a mom of three. Two of my children were born in Switzerland. The second born was not born in Switzerland, and I'll tell you that story towards the end of this video. But in this video, I'll explain to you how maternity leave works in Switzerland and the whole maternity process. So the first thing that you have to know is when you move to Switzerland, let's say you're relocating from a different country to come and work in Switzerland, you should not be worried that your bill will not be paid because you've just arrived to Switzerland. When you come to Switzerland, you have up to 3 months to have a basic health insurance. And this basic health insurance caters for your maternity bill. Therefore, you do not have to worry, and they're obliged to take everyone. So it doesn't matter whether you are a case that is suffering from maternity complications, you have diabetes in pregnancy, or you have hypertension in pregnancy, you should not worry about the insurance refusing to take you or not. It's because they're obliged to take you with the basic insurance, they're obliged to take you. Now, when it comes to things like private insurance, they're not obliged to take you, and therefore they can be able to do the triage and see who they want to take and who they do not want to take. Now, when you come to Switzerland and you register with the basic insurance and you've planned for your delivery, if you only have the basic insurance, you have to know very well that you can only have your bills paid if you do a delivery in a public institution. So if you decide and go to a private institution, all the bills will not be paid. There's a part of it that will be paid by your basic insurance, but the other bills, like your doctor who will be doing the delivery, will be paid from your pocket. Giving you an example of my scenario, when I came to Switzerland, our firstborn son was born in a private hospital. Now, I have had my children the firstborn was born in a private hospital and the lastborn was born in a public hospital. Of these two experiences, I can comfortably tell you that I really appreciated the delivery in the public hospital. Not just because it saved me some coins, but the fact that I found the midwives really competent in the public hospital. Now, this is not to say that the nurses or the midwives in the private hospitals are not competent. No, far from it. But when I do the comparison of the kind of care I got in the public hospital, I was really excited, or not really excited, but I was really content with the way that they managed the whole delivery process. When I went to the private hospital, some things that I did not know when I was planning to deliver in the private hospital shocked me. For example, if you go there at night, most of the time they might only have one doctor in the hospital, and this doctor is not necessarily an obstetrician or a gynecologist. So in case of any emergency, you'll be rushed to the public hospital. At the same time, you will be waiting on your doctor to come and do the delivery. It's not the midwives who do the delivery in the private hospitals or private clinics. Therefore, these are things that you have to know. If you're someone who has a complicated delivery, the best option for you is to plan accordingly to deliver in a public institution. That way you do not have any complications that cannot be managed in the institution where you've planned to deliver. So that is my personal experience. I really appreciated my last delivery, which was done in a Swiss public hospital. Now, you'll find that most of these public hospitals, when you've delivered, it's like a private hospital because they have the clothes ready for you. That is the clothes to use for the baby, and therefore you do not need to carry any clothes to use during the hospitalization. But when you're going home, definitely you have to have your own clothes that you will go with home. You don't need to have Pampers there. They provide that. They provide very good meals. It's really a wonderful place to just deliver and enjoy your moment with your newborn baby. So I do not see what can make me go to a private hospital. It's not like I'm planning to have another baby, but I don't see anything that will make me go to a private hospital apart from wanting to have my delivery done by my gynecologist or wanting to have my own private room. Now, even in the public hospitals, you can organize to have a private room, but this depends on whether they have the availability or not. Of course, you'll pay an extra charge for this. Now, when we talk about work and pregnancy, in Switzerland, from the moment that you say that you're pregnant, your employer cannot fire you, and this is up to 16 weeks post-delivery. So in Switzerland, pregnant women are really protected by the law from being unlawfully fired from their job. Because sometimes people feel that when someone is pregnant, they'll be sick often, and therefore it's not really interesting for the company and they can easily be fired. This is the case in some countries, but not the case in Switzerland. It can be highly penalized if you fire someone who is pregnant. Of course, there are exceptions, but these have to be really extreme cases where you've really done something that is really illegal and therefore you have to be let go. Otherwise, you're protected up to 16 weeks post-delivery. What happens with the maternity leave? So for fathers, you have 2 weeks maternity leave, and this must be taken within 6 months post-delivery. That means post you having your children, or your child, sorry. Thinking of twins. But for the woman, you have 14 weeks of maternity leave. I know if there's someone watching this from Scandinavia, for you that is nothing because you have 1 year of maternity leave. And anyway, that is not the case in Switzerland. In Switzerland, it's 14 weeks. And if, for example, someone falls sick after the 14 weeks, maybe you have postpartum depression, then this falls under your sick leave, and therefore you have to get your doctor to get your certificate that you give your employer for sick leave, and that is treated separately. Now, something else that is very interesting about maternity or pregnancy in Switzerland is the fact that from 12 weeks of pregnancy, the insurance pays everything. So you don't make any contributions. When I say the insurance pays everything, of course, you cannot just start going to private clinics or doing things that are not catered for by the basic insurance. There is a need to be careful on what is paid for. But otherwise, if you have a problem with your vision, it will be catered for. If you have a problem with your audition, it will be catered for. So this is from 12 weeks of pregnancy up to 16 weeks. So you'll find that postpartum, you'll need to do some physiotherapy. The basic insurance will take care of this. Postpartum, you need someone to come home, a midwife to come home to help you with breastfeeding, to help you with your healing process, is catered for as well by the basic insurance. This is something that is really nice because you find that after delivery, many women end up having some perennial issues that can be sorted out earlier on post-delivery, and therefore this is a very, very good progress in the side of the Swiss healthcare system. Now, some people decide that after they've completed their maternity leave, they want to stay home with their children. If you decide to stay after the 14 weeks and you're not sick, then you can be able to talk to your employer and have unpaid leave. Otherwise, there are also some things that your employer has to put in place. After your delivery, so after your maternity leave, they need to have a room for you to pump milk if you're breastfeeding, or they let you go earlier if they don't have this room to go and breastfeed your child. So these are things that have to be put in place by your employer, and sometimes you'll find that your employer is not able to do this, and therefore they make an arrangement with you so that you go home earlier, or the child can be brought to work, or things like those. But those are all things that you have to organize with your employer, but it is legally, they're legally obliged to make that provision for you as a lactating mother. Now, there's also a payment that you get after delivery, but this is only subject to how long you've been having the social insurances in Switzerland. So this means how long have you been paying for your AVS, the pension contributions, and how long have you been employed. So if you've been contributing to the social funds for 9 months or more, then you're eligible for this payment. And also you should have had your work contract in Switzerland for not less than 5 months. Then you will be able to get this contribution once your child is born. It's always something around 1,000 Swiss francs. So this is a one-time payment that you get after delivery of your child. And then after that, there will be the monthly family allocations that you're given for each child. So if you have one child, you get for that child, and then there's for the second child, and usually for the third child, it goes a bit higher depending on the canton that you reside in. Something else that you have to know is during the time that you're on maternity leave, you get your salary, but you only get your salary at 80%. So some employers top up the 20% and therefore you continue getting your 100% salary. But if you get an employer who does not do that, then just know that you will be getting 80% of your salary. Now, there are some people who have jobs that are really well paying, and therefore you have to know that there's a limit to this. I think the limit is 250 Swiss francs per day, and therefore if you're someone who earns maybe, let's say, 300,000 Swiss francs a year, just know there's a limit. You cannot be able to get more than what they've set as the limit per day. So this is it about maternity in Switzerland and delivering in Switzerland. If you have any questions, kindly let me know in the comment section. Yes, I said I was going to tell you about my second born. So my second born was born while I was on holiday in France. I know it's weird, but we'd gone for our firstborn son's birthday in Europa Park. And he was born in France because we were living in, Europa Park is in Germany, but then we had a place to live in the French side. And he just decided this was the time for him to get out, and so he was born in France. I had a totally different experience in France that I did not like, but I don't want to get into it. I don't want to give them a bad name, but it was really not a good experience. If you're interested in knowing the full story, let me know in the comment section and I will tell you how that went down. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. See you in my next video. Bye.